Hello friends, my name is Veroz and welcome to my channel where I share with you tips, tricks that I read, learn and apply in order to become the best version of myself. Now in this video, I will break down for you the living expenses in Canada for a family of 4. What I mean by family of 4 is like me having 2 adults, wife and a husband and 2 kids who are preteen. Now this video is most pertinent to those folks who are thinking of immigrating and moving to Canada, just like how I immigrated to Canada 5 years ago. Prior to moving to Canada, I was living in Dubai. I came to Canada as an immigrant in 2017 along with my family. Now as a side note, I'm leaving a link of my video above where I talk about why I left Dubai despite its many perks, most of them related to income. Now let me quickly talk about why this video is important. Many immigrants like me don't get a direct transfer from their companies which are located in their home country and also have a branch in Canada. Hence, most immigrants just like me have to leave their jobs in their home country and have to move to Canada and start their job search all over again from scratch. Now when it comes to job search, I've created a separate video where I talk about what is the fastest way to land a job in Canada with the link above. Now there are 2 key reasons for the newcomers and immigrants coming into Canada to understand what should be the expectation with regards to their living expenses. First reason is for the period of time for which they won't have a job, they would still be incurring some expenses despite not having any income at all. So they want to have a fair estimate of how much saving they should keep in cash and bring with them to Canada so they can maintain their lifestyle while they're looking for a job during the period when there is no income and they're only incurring expenses. And second is with regards to job search. They want to understand what kind of salary bracket they should be aspiring for, which can maintain a certain lifestyle they expect to maintain in Canada. And hence, therefore, it's important to estimate the cost of that lifestyle. So once you know the cost of that lifestyle, you have a fair idea of what kind of income you need to aspire for, which can cover those expenses which will be incurred by that certain lifestyle that you want to maintain in Canada. Now, given I've been through all these challenges where me and my wife, we came to Canada without having any jobs, we had to go through a period of job search where we didn't have any income but were incurring expenses and hence establishing a bare minimum budget during this initial period. Hence, I believe I can speak well on this topic and can help like-minded immigrants and newcomers coming into Canada. Now in the balance part of the video, I will break down all the expenses that you should expect to incur on monthly basis for a family of 4 with 2 adults, husband and wife, and 2 kids who are preteens, just like myself. I will cover all the expenses items in detail starting with your rental to the cost of your haircut. Note all of this information is based on my personal experience and from the examples I have within my social circle in Canada. So the expenses that I will be sharing will be representative of my lifestyle. Now given I will be breaking down the expenses into the smallest detail, you can choose to adjust the numbers based on your own personal preference and your preferred lifestyle. Now let me start with the most important and the biggest bucket, which is either rental or your mortgage payments. Whether you rent or you purchase a house on mortgage, the payments that you would be making would be more or less same. Rather, if you go for a rental, the rental expense would be slightly lower than the EMI that you would be paying in case you go and opt for mortgage. Because once you own a house, you would not be just paying the principal amount and the interest, rather you'll also be paying the tax on the ownership of that house. So all of these expenses combined are slightly higher than the cost you incur when you're paying rental. While the intent of the video is not to compare rental versus mortgage, however, when you go for mortgage, you will be paying the principal, which is kind of going against your equity. While when you're renting, there is no equity that you're building. But that's besides the point. Net, if you go for rental, the rental would be 5 to 10% cheaper than the EMI in case. Now, when you make a choice on where you want to live, it is critical to first and foremost make sure that you live in a neighborhood which have good school districts. Now, if you're someone like me, you will probably go for public school for your kids, especially given Canada has a dominant public schooling system, which is pretty good in standard. However, you need to make sure that you send your kids to the public school which has a good school ranking. In the description of this video, I will leave with you a link where you can go and look and search for good neighborhoods. Neighborhoods where you can find strong rated schools. Now, obviously getting a house in a good neighborhood comes with the price itself. So expect to pay a rental of somewhere around 2,800 Canadian dollars for a townhouse with 3 bed in a good neighborhood with good school ratings. Now the next important bucket, which is pretty standard, is transportation, which has 3 parts: your car, fuel and insurance. Now, other than living around downtown where you usually have easy access to transportation, you will need a car. And just like me, if you're a family with kids, you would prefer not living in and around downtown area. Rather, you would prefer living in the outside cities where there is more calm. For that purpose, it is must to have a car. Now, my preferred option is to go for a second-hand basic car, so you keep your expenses related to the car pretty low. This is exactly what I did. When I came here and didn't have a job, I bought a second-hand Elantra, which was like 5 years old. And as soon as I got the offer letter for my first job, I went to the showroom the next day and purchased my second car on financing. However, there is one drawback. That is, if you purchase a car on cash, then you would be using cash out of your saving bucket. And if your saving bucket is limited, that it can hardly cover 6 months of your expenses while you don't have any income, in that case, I don't recommend buying a car using cash. Rather, I would go and buy a car on lease or financing, so I can conserve cash as much as possible. Now, if you go for a lease, you should expect somewhere around $300 for a 5-seater car, which should be good enough for a family of 4. However, the area where you will be incurring the most cost is the insurance, which is very expensive in Canada. So the insurance cost would be slightly higher, if not equal to the monthly payment that you will be making on your car lease. So in this case, expect somewhere around $300 on your car insurance. Now, with regards to fuel, given how fuel prices have risen recently, you should budget somewhere around $400 per month for your fuel cost. And one additional item associated with the car is its maintenance. I would budget somewhere around half of the price that you are paying on monthly basis for the car as its maintenance cost, which would be somewhere around $150. Next bucket is utilities, where you cover your gas, your water and electricity. Here, if you have a 3-bed home, you should expect to pay somewhere around $250 per month for all your utilities. The next one is mobile phone. Assuming you will have a mobile phone for yourself and for your spouse, then you should budget somewhere around $75 per person, so a total of $150 for both of you together. For internet, again, it would depend on the speed and the downloading limit, but I would budget somewhere around $100 for the internet. Next is grocery. Again, grocery swings a lot, depend on what kind of eating habits you have. For instance, if you're a complete vegetarian, your grocery bill will be certainly low, but if you are a meat eater, then it would be certainly high. For me, who eats meat like 3 days a week, my grocery bill is somewhere around $1,000. So you can budget simply $1,000 for your grocery bill if your eating habits are similar to what just I shared. Now, another important bucket under my personal finances is hygiene, where I cover haircuts and salon visits. It costs somewhere around $25 per haircut. Plus salon visit for my wife, I would budget somewhere around $150 in total for hygiene. Now, when it comes to shopping, I would budget somewhere around $500. Again, if you get a good job with higher income, you can certainly increase this budget and spend more on your shopping. But given you're just landed and you're in a job search mode, I would keep this budget as minimum as possible. So $500 would be a very fair budget for shopping. This would include things like clothes, toys for kids, any purchase of gadgets or small appliances for the house, and etc. Another important bucket, at least important for me, is gym or workout. I would budget somewhere around $100 for the total family for gym membership. Usually gym membership costs somewhere around $50 to $100 per person. Last but not the least, keep some budget as miscellaneous for something that may come up which I have not covered, which you've not planned for, or which you've not thought through. I would put somewhere around $300 as miscellaneous per month. Now, all these buckets that I've listed so far are must-have items. That is, it would be very hard or impossible to avoid these expenses. Totaling all these expenses, you're looking at a budget of somewhere around $6,500 per month. Now, you can certainly squeeze another 10 to 15% from this budget, which means you can land at $5,500, but that would require some compromises. But I would certainly not assume anything less than that. So this gives us a good range of $6,500 to $5,500. Now, these ranges, when analyzed on before tax basis, would mean that you would require a household income of somewhere around $120,000 or $100,000 in case you opt for the lower end of the range. Now, over and above these must-have expenses, there are certain expenses which are not very critical but important. So let me call them out as well. Now, you don't need to spend in these areas during the period when you don't have any income and you are in a job search mode. However, once you have your steady stream of income coming in, you may need to go and spend on these buckets as well. Assuming you want to enroll your child in at least one activity, let's say swimming or skating or skiing, stuff like that, I would budget somewhere around $150 per kid here. So $300 in total in case you are a family with 2 kids. The next bucket is entertainment, where I usually qualify vacations. For vacations on the lower side, I would budget somewhere around $6,000 per year, which would be $500 per month. Again, this is an expense I would not incur till I have the job on hand, but once I have a job, this is an expense that I would start to budget in my personal finances. The next item I want to talk about is eat outs. For eat outs, expect somewhere around $120 per eat out. So let's assume you eat out 3 times a month, then you would be paying somewhere around $400 for a eat out. So budget around $400 for your eat outs. Now, if both of your kids are 4 years and above, then public schooling here is free, so you don't have to incur any cost for their education. However, if you have a child who is less than 4 years of age and you prefer and intend to send them for a daycare, then you'll have to pay it from your own pocket. This was the case for me, at least when I came to Canada. Our younger son was less than 4 years old and we chose to send him to daycare, which would cost somewhere around $800 to $1,200 depending on the type of daycare you choose. So I would budget somewhere around $1,000. Also note, in these expenses, I didn't include any medical expenditure or medical insurance because most of the medical is already covered by the government and it is for free. There are certain exceptions like dental expenses. However, most of the companies cover them. So once you have your job, they will be covered by your company's insurance. Hopefully this video has helped you make a fair estimate of what expenses you should expect when you come to Canada. Thank you for watching.